What's up, guys? It's me, Cyrus, and today I want to talk to you about the ever-evolving retro setup that I have as far as like capturing things and doing stuff like that. There's a lot of ways you can do this thing. You know, you can capture an emulator just from like a screen grab. You can get original hardware or HDMI modified consoles or things like that and capture straight to a capture card. Or you can do some more complicated type stuff to try to get a good signal, like an analog signal, turned into an HDMI signal of good quality, and then capture that on a capture card, which is kind of what I'm talking about today. For the longest time, I've been using the RetroTink 2X Pro, which is sitting right over here. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there. And it's good. It's fine. It's great. It line doubles. It does a good job of converting an OG signal into something good, and it can do component, it can do composite, and it can do S-video, and it's very capable. But there are other options out there. There are other things that are even better than that. And one of the things that I had been looking forward to trying was the OSSC. I've heard about the OSSC for a long time. I've always wanted to try it. I've heard it was a little bit tricky and a little bit strange, but I wanted to try it. And I saw one that I liked. It was version 1.7, which was a pretty good revision, I think. And it came in a real nice little box, and it has like a nice shell, a nice case to it. It has several different power adapters. It's just a pretty cool unit. And this one is made by a company called Bitfunx. I'll show you. I took a little video here to show you what it looks like up close. Here it is right here plugged in, and it's actually plugged in right now into the same spot underneath my TV here. And that signal that you see on the front, it tells you, this is what's really cool. That little LCD panel will tell you exactly what's going on as far as the signal coming into it. So things are going to get a little more complicated with an OSSC than what you would have on like a RetroTink 2X Pro, something like that, or any kind of simpler device. This is starting to get into a little bit more complicated territory. But I got to say, once I had this thing figured out, once I understood exactly how it worked, it wasn't as complicated as I thought. In fact, a lot of the older advice that you might find out there on the internet about how to set up one of these things for different consoles, and there's a lot of information, and I think depending on the model you have and on the firmware you have, some of that information is going to be more or less relevant. And for me, what it turned out is reading like the setup guides that people gave and stuff like that was helpful. It was very helpful, but a lot of it was unnecessary because this thing automatically does a whole bunch of that stuff for you that some of the older revisions or older firmware actually couldn't handle very well. So there's a lot of automated stuff in here. So this thing does take component inputs, and it also takes RGB through SCART, and it does VGA, which I have not played with the VGA. I'm planning to set my Dreamcast up on here and see how it goes. But I have done a lot of testing, and fortunately, I've been able to make this thing work, but it was not simple because I had to learn what it needed. Okay, and I'm going to tell you right now. I have an AverMedia Live Mini, which I really like. I've enjoyed the AverMedia quite a bit, but it doesn't seem to work with the OSSC at all. At least this model, I can't get it to do anything. I have another capture card that I bought from Amazon. That's a little blue capture card that has a 4K pass through, and I have that in the living room with all my more modern consoles. It also does not seem to work with this. It didn't seem to find the signal no matter what I did. But I have this little capture card sitting right here. This right here, this little one. You can probably see that right there. It's a cheap one from Amazon. It costs about $60, called the KKF. You can look this up. And it works perfectly with this. Now, it's a little finicky. You have to understand like what it needs in order to run. So it took me a while to get all that figured out. So I'm using this capture card with the OSSC. I'm still going to use my AverMedia, but I'm going to be using that with other things, which we'll save for other videos. So the OSSC is going to get a component feed from my NES, which is what's on the screen right here. And I'll bring this up. I'm just going to go ahead and bring it up so you can see what I'm talking about. I'll turn the volume down on the game just a little bit as we're talking. So I have a component switcher set up. So as far as component inputs, I'm using HD Retrovision cables from my Famicom, from the NES, the Famicom. And I'm also using component cables from HD Retrovision cables from my Genesis, which is also hooked up. If I turn that on, all I have to do is press a button to switch, and it switches, and now it's the Genesis. And you can see it had no trouble finding it, and it's all on screen and everything, and it's good. I press that button again, and we switch back, and we're on the NES. I also have some SCART stuff going into the back of this thing, and for that I have my Super Famicom hooked up with a SCART, and I've ordered a SCART cable from my Master System. So I'm going to have the Master System hooked up to the SCART switcher that I have. So that'll all be fed in. I have a SCART cable, a really nice SCART cable for my Sega Saturn. Unfortunately, there's some issues with using that. And I'm going to try to show you what I'm talking about. A lot of games on the Sega Saturn do a lot of resolution switching. And unfortunately, the OSSC doesn't handle that all that well. So that will have to wait for another device that I've ordered, which is the RetroTink 5X. That's going to be coming in, and that's going to be set up for other stuff. S-Video and different SCART stuff. But yeah, let me actually see if I can switch over, turn on my Saturn, and see if we can get that switched over. Let's see. Might take me just a second to get this figured out. Get that. And here we go. Sega Saturn. Okay. Sorry, it took me a second. In order to get it to do everything I needed it to do, there's, like I said, you have to figure out what the console wants. So, I mean, what the device wants, the OSSC. So I had to switch it over, turn it off, turn it back on, and then switch it to the right input. And here we have Sega Saturn. And honestly, the Saturn would probably be fine through the OSSC if you really wanted to do it this way. But this game in particular, I tested it with and noticed that it did switch resolutions quite a few times. And that can be problematic because it's going to go black and then come back, and it might cause problems with your capture card, whatever capture device you're using. So that's something to be aware of. So right now it's at one resolution because it's playing this video. But when it changes over to the title screen, it's a different resolution. And then when the game plays, it's a different resolution. So you'll see it here as it's changing. See what it's doing right here? So it's a little bit, finicky as it's changing over to different resolutions. And then we'll see the gameplay come up. You see it change again. It's fascinating to me that it actually shows you all this information and it runs. It's a little weird, like I said. But it's definitely something you could do if you wanted to. All right, so you get the point with that. We're going to switch back to the Famicom. There we go. All right, so we're back to the Famicom. And my capture card handled everything very well. I didn't have to do any resetting or anything weird like that. So that was good. So this is a revision 1.7 OSSC. And it is running. It'll tell you when I'm gonna turn it off and back on just so I can check this real quick, because it tells you when you turn it on what the firmware version 1.09a. That's the firmware. So all right, so yeah, it's a backlit LCD. It does have an SD card slot for firmware updates. It comes with the remote. It comes with different power adapters. It comes with the power cable that you need. It's pretty awesome. Now, in order to get this to work and display how I wanted it to, I had to play around with the settings quite a bit. And I'll show you right here. I'll bring up the menu so you can see. What I had to do is come down here to output options, and now I have this set at for 240p stuff to display at 5 times the lines. So it's pretty awesome. It multiplies the lines by 5, which is why it looks so incredibly clear and crisp. And the output resolution that I have this thing working at for 5X is 1920 by 1200. The reason I did that is because for whatever reason, my capture card likes some resolutions and doesn't like some resolutions coming out of the OSSC. So it was cutting off parts of the screen, causing some issues and stuff like that. But sitting at this resolution, I get everything. So this is something you'll have to play with a little bit to try to figure out how this thing works and what you need to do for it. And you can set that for each of these different line modes. Like it's pretty cool how they have this set up. So you can see all these up here, these numbers up here are the resolutions that it will accept. It will accept those resolutions from your analog source, and then it will output those resolutions to any of these line multipliers. And then you can set different settings for the intake and the outtake, if that makes sense. You can set how you want 240p to be done, which I set it to 5 times on the lines. And then for the 5 times mode, I set that for a generic 4:3 aspect ratio. And the 5X format down here I've set to, like I said, 1920 by 1200 as my output. So anyway, there's a lot you can set just on this one menu. And there are several of these menus. And there's sync options. There's all kinds of stuff. Sampling. The sampling stuff is pretty fascinating, actually. I have really not figured it out. But there's a lot to... Like I said, this thing does a lot of stuff automatically that you don't have to worry about like you would on some of the older OSSC versions or firmwares or things like that. So thankfully, it just kind of automatically does a lot of stuff for me, which is pretty awesome. And the output of the signal is fantastic. So that's what we're working with here. So for the rest of this video, I thought it would be fun to just give you a little bit of footage of some of the games running on this OSSC. So we've got the Famicom translated version of Castlevania 3. So let's play it a little bit. And you tell me what you think. Here we go. Look at the fidelity on those lines and how smooth the scrolling is. That is just... I cannot believe that's coming out of the actual Famicom. That's ridiculously good quality. That looks like, I mean, that really does look like an emulator being not only like upscaled, but up-resed or something. But it's not. I mean, it's being up-resed, but through the OSSC. And I think it might add like a frame of lag or something, but it's undetectable. I can't detect any kind of lag whatsoever. Damn it. Wow. Can't believe I let that happen. All right, let's check out a different game real quick. I gotta hear this music, sorry. Okay, now we'll do something different. Turn it off and back on, and it still stays, doesn't lose sync. It's pretty awesome. All right. How about a game that's notorious for having some issues with synchronizing the flickering that goes on? And that's, let's see. Yeah, Batman. The opening of Batman is a game that, like I said, if you're going to have issues with synchronizing the flickering that goes on, this is where you're going to see it in the opening sequence of this game. This will also give you an idea of how the fidelity of the colors and stuff like that is captured, and also you can kind of see how it looks with my RGB modded in a Famicom. But yeah, I'm gonna stop talking for a second. We'll watch this opening. And there you go, a little bit of Batman. Well, I think it would be good idea to check out a game like Contra just to see how the colors and animation and everything looks, because that can be a problem, like, you know, if you don't have the right setup or something like that. So let's check that out real quick. Contra, we'll do the Japanese one, the superior version. Here we go. No pressure. Ah, man. Ah. Anyway. So if we pause it here, take a look at the colors for a second. And looking at them on my TV, they do look slightly different than how they do on the capture. So, like I said, I'm still playing with this. Let's see. Let's see if we can adjust this a little. See if it does anything to improve this. No, that's the same. I don't know. Is that better or worse? It went from 601 to 709 on the colors. Go back to 601. 601's probably fine. And change the color space from MPEG to YUY2. And I don't see any difference with that. So that's probably more a limitation of my capture device than what the OSSC is doing. Like I said, because I'm watching this on my TV, and that's going through the OSSC, and colors are slightly different. So that's interesting. Well, I switched it to full range instead of limited, and that might actually work better here. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Well, we'll play it with that. We'll see how that goes. Oh yeah, rapid spread. Yeah, we'll check out one more game real quick. Let's see how it looks with a different color setting. Let's see. Let's do Super Mario 3. Where is it? Mario Duck Hunt, Super Mario 2, Super Mario Brothers. Oh, there it is, right down there. Try that one more time. That up. Well, okay, pretty awesome. All right, we'll finish this off by taking a quick look at Just some Ninja Turtles running on the Super Famicom. Just a quick switch over. And I gotta press the right switcher on the SCART for it to work. That would help. There we go. There we go. And I had to deactivate and reactivate the capture card because it switched over, I guess. So little things like that are still coming up. But overall, I think the OSSC, at least this version that I have, seems to be pretty solid. So I'm going to continue to learn about it and tweak it. There's probably things that I can do that I don't even know about, and ways that I can make this process even better and the quality of the video even better. Like I said, the issues with the color that I'm still figuring out. But overall, this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. And it'll be very interesting to see how this compares to the RetroTink 5X. Anyway, that's going to wrap up this video. Just a little bit of a demonstration of what's going on with this thing and a little bit of information as far as what I've figured out about it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I will do the best I can to answer. But there you go. The OSSC 1.7. This particular box is from a company called Bitfunx. Bitfunx. And I got it off of eBay. So it ran me about 150. It ran me about 150. You can do better probably on your pricing, depending on what version you get. You could do worse too. But anyway, that's what we're dealing with. So thanks for watching. More videos coming soon, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.